Hello everyone, my name is NewFlowerGirl, but you can call me Demi, and today we are back again with another podcast. It's been a while since we've done a podcast, and I thought to kick it off the right way, we're gonna do a podcast about the one and only GOAT of Formula 1. He's not the only GOAT of Formula 1, there are multiple GOATs, but we are gonna be learning about Lewis Hamilton. And I was supposed to do one about Lewis Hamilton quite a while ago, but I forgot to do podcasts, so we're back now. We're going to be learning about him today. And my hope is that with this podcast, I'm going to overtake the most viewed podcast on my channel, which is currently the Pierre Gasly podcast. It's close to 90 views. So if we can get this past 90 views, then I'm happy. I'm very happy. So yeah, we're gonna go and learn about him. It's gonna be quite a long one, just looking on the page. So yeah, but yeah, let's get right into it. So, Sir Lewis Carl Davidson Hamilton, born the 7th of January 1985, is a British racing driver. He currently competes in Formula 1 for Mercedes, having previously driven for McLaren from 2007, his rookie year, to 2012. In Formula 1, Hamilton has a joint record 7 World Drivers' Championship titles, tied with Michael Schumacher, and also records for the most wins. 100. Most pole positions, 101. And podium finishes, 177. By the time this podcast goes out, it will be probably more. Just saying. Amongst others. Born and raised in Stevenage, Hertfordshire, Hamilton joined the McLaren Young Driver program in 1998. This led to a Formula 1 drive with McLaren in 2007. Making Hamilton the first and so far only black driver to race in the series. I'm praying for more black drivers. I really am. That season, Hamilton set numerous records as he finished runner-up to Kimi Raikkonen by 1 point. The following season, he won his maiden title in a dramatic fashion, making a crucial overtake on the last lap of the last race of the season, becoming the then youngest Formula 1 world champion in history. If you have not watched that race where it happens, or if you remember partially, it's basically Timo Glock went slowly, and that basically led to Hamilton overtaking Glock and winning the championship. And his title rival, Felipe Massa, who was driving for Ferrari, he had the championship title for like 1 second and was like, "Is that Glock? I think that's Glock going slow." And then Hamilton overtook him and Hamilton became champion. That's how the story went. After 4 more years with McLaren, Hamilton signed with Mercedes in 2013. Changes to the regulations for 2014. I've made a podcast about that as well. About all the regulation changes. So if you have not watched that one, then please go and look for it. I'm gonna have to warn you, that one is a long one, but to be fair, this one is gonna be long as well. So there's not really much of a difference. Mandating the use of turbo hybrid engines saw the start of a highly successful period for Hamilton, during which he has won 6 further drivers' titles. Consecutive titles came in 2014 and 2015 during an intense rivalry with teammate Nico Rosberg. We know that. We know all about that. Following Rosberg's retirement, Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel became Hamilton's closest rival in 2 intense championship battles, in which Hamilton twice overturned mid-season points defeats to claim consecutive titles again in 2017 and 2018. His third and fourth consecutive titles followed in 2019 and 2020 to equal Schumacher's record of 7 drivers' titles. Hamilton has been credited for furthering Formula One's global following by appealing to a broader audience outside the sport, in part due to his high-profile lifestyle, environmental and social activism, and exploits in music and fashion. He has become a prominent advocate in support of activism to combat racism and push increased diversity in motorsport. Hamilton was listed in the 2020 issue of Time as one of the 100 most influential people globally, and was knighted in the 2021 New Year Honours. That's why he now has the name Sir Lewis Hamilton. He was knighted by the Queen. So that's a little bio about Hamilton. But now we're gonna dive real deep into how he started. We're gonna go like early life and education, junior karting career, and that has the following: karting, Formula Renault, Formula 3, GP2, aka Formula 2, and then we're gonna go to Formula 1, which has the McLaren, Mercedes. Then we're gonna go to driver profile, which also includes driver style and other things. We might go and talk about his helmet, but I'm not sure. We are definitely going to go and talk about his rivals, because no, Max Verstappen is not in there. Why? Of course, public image and influence, because that is like one part of Lewis Hamilton. And yeah, I believe that is all we're gonna have to talk about. So, early racing career, or early life and education. Hamilton was born on January the 7th in 1985 in Stevenage, Hertfordshire, England. His father, Anthony Hamilton, is black and is of Grenadian descent, while his mother, Carmen, I'm going to have to try and pronounce this, Carmen Larbol Lester, is white, making him a mixed race. Hamilton has identified as black. Hamilton's parents separated when he was 2, after which he lived with his mother and older half-sisters Samantha and Nicola until he was 12. Hamilton then lived with his father, stepmother Linda, and his half-brother Nicholas, who is also a professional racing driver. Hamilton was raised a Catholic. Hamilton's father bought him a radio-controlled car when he was 5. Hamilton finished second in the National BRCA Championship the following year against adult competition. If you win against adults when you are just like a little kid, then there's magic. I think that's when people start to realize, like, oh, he must be good. He has to be. Being the only black child racing at his club, Hamilton was subjected to racist abuse. Hamilton's father bought him a go-kart for Christmas. Lovely Christmas memories that must have been. When he was 6, and promised to support his racing career as long as he worked hard at school. To support his son, Hamilton's father took redundancy from his position as an IT manager and became a contractor, sometimes working up to 4 jobs at a time, including employment as a double glazing salesman, dishwasher, and putting up signs for estate agents, while still attending his son's races. Hamilton's father later stepped up his own IT company. He continued to be Hamilton's manager until early 2010. Hamilton was educated at the John Henry Newman School, a voluntary aided Catholic secondary school in Stevenage. At the age of 5, Hamilton took up karate to defend himself as a result of bullying at school. So you don't want to get into a fight with Lewis. He also excluded from school a period when he was mistakenly identified as having attacked a fellow student who was treated in hospital for their injuries. In addition to racing, he played association football for his school for his school team with eventually England international Ashley Young. Hamilton, an Arsenal fan, said that if Formula One had not worked for him, he would have been a footballer or a cricketer, having played for both for school teams. In February 2001, he began studies at Cambridge Arts and Science, a private sixth form college in Cambridge. That was a pretty mouthful. Junior racing career. We're going to start with karting. Hamilton began karting in 1993 and quickly began winning races and cadet class championships. 2 years later, he became the youngest driver to win the British Cadet Karting Championship at the age of 10. That year, Hamilton approached McLaren Formula One team boss Ron Dennis at the Autosport Awards for an autograph and said, "Hi, I'm Lewis Hamilton. I won the British champion and one day I want to be racing your cars." Dennis wrote in Hamilton's autograph book, "Phone me in 9 years, we'll sort something out then." Hamilton was 12. Ladbrokes took a bet at 40 out of 1 odds that Hamilton would win a Formula One race before the age of 23. Other predicted at 150 out of 1 odds that he would win the World Drivers' Championship before he was 25. In 1998, Ron Dennis called Hamilton following his second Super 1 Series and British Championship wins to offer Hamilton a role in the McLaren driver development program. The contract included an option for a future Formula One seat, which would make Hamilton the youngest driver to secure a contract that later resulted in a Formula One drive. That was at that point. That result that right now, currently, the person who debuted the youngest is, of course, our own Max Verstappen. Our own, because I'm Dutch, I say our own. But it's the Dutchy Max Verstappen with 17 years of age, because he was 18 when he won his first race, and that was 2016. But now we're going to go to Formula Renault. If you didn't know, there are lots of different kinds of classes in the FIA classes. You have Formula Renault, Formula 3, Formula 4, Formula 2, and Formula 1. Right now, currently, Formula Renault is Formula Alpine, because Renault F1 does not exist anymore. So they rebranded it to Formula Alpine. And yeah, but we're gonna go. Hamilton began his car racing career in the 2001 British Formula Alpine Winter Series, finishing 5th in standings. This led to a full 2002 Formula Alpine UK campaign with Manor Motorsport, in which he finished 3rd overall. Quite impressive. He remained with Manor for another year, winning the championship ahead of Alex Lloyd. Having clinched the championship, Hamilton missed the last 2 races of the season to make his debut in the season finale of the British Formula 3 Championship. I don't know what race that was, but we'll look it up. I'll put it on screen right now, which race that was. And then you can go and look for it yourself. In his first race, he was forced out with a puncture. And in the second, he crashed out and was taken to hospital after a collision with teammate Tor Graves. Asked in 2002 about the prospect of becoming one of the youngest ever Formula One drivers, Hamilton replied that his goal was not to be the youngest in Formula One, but rather to be experienced and then show what I can do in Formula One. He made his debut with Mana in the 2004 Formula 3 Euro Series, ending the year in 5th in the championship. He also won the Bahrain F3 Super Prix and twice raced the Macau F3 Grand Prix. Williams had come close to signing Hamilton, but did not because BMW, their engine supplier at the time, would not fund him. Hamilton eventually re-signed with McLaren. According to then McLaren executive and future CEO Martin Whitmarsh, who was responsible for guiding Hamilton through the team's young driver program, he and Anthony Hamilton had a huge row at the end of the season, with Lewis's father pushing him to move up to GP2, aka Formula 2, for 2005, while Whitmarsh felt that he should remain in Formula 3 for a second season, culminating in Whitmarsh tearing up Lewis's contract. However, Lewis called Whitmarsh 6 weeks later and re-signed with the team. Hamilton first tested for McLaren in the late 2004 at Silverstone. Hamilton moved to the reigning Euro Series champions ASM for the 2005 season and dominated the championship, winning 15 out of 20 rounds. He also won the Marlboro Masters of Formula 3 at Zandvoort. So he does have experience at Zandvoort. I didn't think that he would have raced at Zandvoort, even though I have a book about like the whole history of Zandvoort, but I didn't think that he would have raced there. But he did in different classes. After the season, British magazine Autosport featured him in their top 50 drivers of 2005 issue, ranking Hamilton 24th. Now we're going to go to GP2, aka Formula 2. Hamilton moved to ASM's sister GP2 team, Art Grand Prix. That's basically also where George Russell was at. And that was for the 2006 season. Hamilton won the GP2 championship as his first attempt, beating Nelson Piquet Jr. and Timo Glock. We remember those names. He secured a very dominant win at the Nürburgring, despite a penalty for speeding in the pit lane. At his home race in Silverstone, Hamilton overtook two rivals at Beckett's. A series of high-speed bends were overtaking his rear. Maggots and Beckett's are so beautiful. In Istanbul, he recovered from a spin that left him in 18th place to take second. Hamilton won the title in unusual circumstances, inheriting the final point he needed after Giorgio Pantano was stripped of fastest lap in Monza feature race. Hamilton's success in the GP2 championship coincided with a vacancy at McLaren following the departure of Juan Pablo Montoya to NASCAR and Kimi Raikkonen to Ferrari. After months of speculations on whether Hamilton, Pedro de la Rosa or Gary Pavet would be paired with defending champion Fernando Alonso for 2007. Hamilton was confirmed as the team's second driver. It was thought of McLaren's decision at the end of September, but the news was not made public for almost 2 months, for fear that it would be overshadowed by Michael Schumacher's retirement announcement. Oh yeah, Schumacher retired there, and then later on he returned to race with to race with Mercedes. But now we're going to go to Formula 1, because that is where he currently is. We're going to start off with McLaren, and let's go. Hamilton's first season in Formula 1 saw him partner two-time and defending world champion Fernando Alonso. Hamilton is the first and, as of 2021, the only black driver to race in the series. After finishing on the podium in his debut, Hamilton went on to set several records as he finished runner-up in the 2007 World Drivers' Championship to Kimi Raikkonen by just 1 point, including those for the most consecutive podium finishes from debut. The joint most wins at a debut season, 4, and the most points on a debut season, 109. Throughout the season, Hamilton and Alonso were involved in a number of incidents which resulted in tensions between both drivers and the team, culminating in Alonso and McLaren terminating their contract by mutual consent in November. Following a successful first season at McLaren, Hamilton signed a multi-million-pound contract to stay with the team until 2012. Hamilton's success continued in 2008. He amassed 5 victories and 10 podium finishes, but was also accused of arrogance and dangerous driving, though he argued that his self-belief was wrongly interpreted, and that his driving was firm but fair. As the season reached its conclusion in Brazil, Sao Paulo, it became a two-way fight for the title between home favourite Felipe Massa, who is from Brazil, and the young Briton. Hamilton won his first title in dramatic fashion in the last race of the season by overtaking Timo Glock for 5th position in the final corners of the last lap to become the then youngest Formula 1 world champion in history, and to deny race winner Massa the title by 1 point. This made Hamilton the first British driver to win the World Championship since Damon Hill in 1996. In his last 4 years with McLaren, Hamilton continued to score podium finishes and race victories. Hamilton entered the final round of the 2010 season with a chance of winning the title, but ultimately finished 4th as Sebastian Vettel won the race to take his maiden driver's crown. The following year was the first season he had been outscored by a teammate, as Jenson Button finished runner-up to champion Sebastian Vettel during a year in which distractions in his private life and run-ins with FIA officials saw Hamilton finish a lowly 5th in the standings, after which he vowed he would return to form for 2012. Keeping his word, Hamilton achieved 4 race wins in the 2012 season, as he finished 4th in the standings. Before the end of the year, Hamilton announced too much surprise that he would be joining Mercedes for the 2013 season, replacing the retiring Michael Schumacher. And now we're going to go on to Mercedes. They was teammates with Rosberg. Upon signing with Mercedes in 2013, Hamilton was reunited with his childhood karting teammate Nico Rosberg. The move was met with surprise by pundits and the public, with some describing the move to Mercedes, a team with no recent history of success, as a gamble. But the gamble later on turned out to be worth it. In his first season with the Silver Arrows, that's what they call Mercedes, now it's currently the Black Arrows, Hamilton secured a sole race victory, winning the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he converted an unexpected pole position into a winning margin of 11 seconds ahead of second place finisher Kimi Raikkonen, alongside a number of podium finishes and pole positions, finishing fourth in the standings once again, the third time in 5 years. Changes to the regulations for the 2014 season, which mandated the turbo hybrid engines, contributed to the start of a highly successful era for Hamilton. That year saw Mercedes win 16 out of 19 races that season, 11 of those secured by Hamilton, as he prevailed a season-long duel for the title against teammate Rosberg, clinching his second driver's title and eclipsing the victory tally of all British drivers before him. Hamilton declared over team radio after the final race in Abu Dhabi, "This is the greatest day of my life." And it was. New driver number regulations brought in for 2014 allowed drivers to pick a unique car number to use for their entire career. And so Hamilton elected to drive under his old karting number 44 for the remainder of his career. And he will do so until he retires, of course. Before the start of the 2015 season, Hamilton announced that he would not be exercising his opinion of switching his car to number 1, as was his prerogative. It's a hard word. As was his prerogative as reigning world champion, and would instead continue to race under his career under number 44. It was the first season since 1994 where Alain Prost retired from the sport following his fourth and final World Drivers' Championship title in 1993. That the field did not contain a car number bearing the number 1. Hamilton dominated the 2015 season, winning 10 races, finishing on the podium a record 17 times, as he matched his hero Ayrton Senna's 3 World Championship titles. The rivalry between him and Rosberg intensified, climaxing into the heated battle at the US Grand Prix, where Hamilton won an auction-packed wheel-to-wheel battle with his teammate to clinch the title with 3 races to spare. That year, Hamilton extended his contract with Mercedes for 3 additional years, and a deal reportedly worth more than £100 million, making him one of the best paid drivers in Formula 1, as well as allowing Hamilton to retain his own image rights, which is considered unusual in the sport, and keep his championship winning cars and trophies. Despite recording more pole positions and race wins than any other driver in 2016, Hamilton lost the driver's title by 5 points to his teammate Rosberg. The team's policy of letting the pair fight freely led to several a hard word again, acrimonious exchanges both on and off the track, culminating in Hamilton defying team orders at the season finale at Abu Dhabi and deliberately slowing to back Rosberg into the chasing pack at the end of the race in an unsuccessful bid to encourage other drivers to overtake his teammate, which would have allowed him to win the title. Ultimately, a succession of poor starts from Hamilton early in the season and a crucial engine blowout in Malaysia meant Rosberg took the title, which he successfully secured before announcing his shock retirement from the sport immediately after beating his rival. So yeah, now we're gonna go on to 4 titles in a row. Yeah, let's go. Following Rosberg's retirement, Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel became Hamilton's closest rival as the pair exchanged the championship lead throughout 2017. Haha, we recognize that from this season. In a tense title fight, Hamilton registered 11 pole positions that season as he took the record for all-time most pole positions, and his consistency, finishing every race in the points, as well as a lack of serious challenge from his new teammate Valtteri Bottas, saw him record 9 race victories and secure his 4th World Drivers' title as he overturned a points defect to Vettel in the first half of the season, ultimately wrapping the title up in Mexico with 2 races to spare. And we know in Formula 1, consistency is key, because Hamilton was very consistent in that season, and yeah, consistency is just key. It's the key to win, to get points, to get pole positions, to win the championship title, and to be successful, basically. The 2018 season was the first time that 2 4-time world champions, Hamilton and Vettel, would be competing in a 5th title, and was billed as the Fight for 5 by journalists and fans. As with the season before, Ferrari and Vettel appeared to have the upper hand for much of the season, topping the standings until halfway point. However, Vettel's season unraveled with a number of driver and mechanical errors, while Hamilton's run of 6 wins in 7 of the latter half of the season saw Hamilton clinch the title in Mexico for a 2nd year running, as he set a new record for the most points scored in a season, 408. During the season, Hamilton signed a 2-year contract with Mercedes, reported to be worth up to £40 million per year, making him the best paid Formula 1 driver in history. Sorry for the pause. Having signed a contract with Mercedes that lasted until 2020, it was confirmed that Hamilton would defend his title in 2019. Hamilton led the driver's standings for the majority of the season, fending off title challenges from teammate Bottas, the Honda-powered Red Bull of Max Verstappen, and Ferrari's recently promoted Leclerc to clinch his 6th driver's crown at the 2019 United States Grand Prix with 2 races remaining. After scoring his 6th career Grand Slam at the final race of the season, Hamilton ended the season with 11 wins, matching his previous best in 2014 and 2018, and 17 podiums, matching the all-time record for a 4th time. as well as achieving 5 pole positions. His total of 413 points of the season was a new all-time record, seeing the Briton finish 87 points clear of second place Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton won his 11th driver's title in 2020, equaling the record set by Michael Schumacher in a season heavily impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Over the shortened 17-race season, Hamilton took 11 wins, equaling his previous best, but in fewer races, including one in Portugal to break Schumacher's record of 91 wins. He also took 14 podiums and 10 pole positions. Hamilton missed the 2020 Sakir Grand Prix after contracting COVID-19, his first race absence since his debut in 2007. Hamilton clinched the title at the Turkish Grand Prix with 3 rounds to spare at the end of the season, and ended the season 124 points clear of his teammate Bottas, who finished second in the standings. Amid Formula One's We Race as One campaign and growing global support for the Black Lives Matter movement, Hamilton took the knee ahead of every race he entered and wore t-shirts bearing the Black Lives Matter slogan. Hamilton and Bottas's W11 cars were also sported a black livery as a statement of Mercedes' commitment to diversity. In 2021, in February, Hamilton signed a contract to continue racing for the team in 2021. At the 2021 Spanish Grand Prix in May, Hamilton became the first driver to reach 100 pole positions in Formula One. In July 2021, Hamilton signed a contract extension to remain with Mercedes until the end of 2023. I have not heard about that. I didn't hear about that at all. But yeah, he claimed his 100th win at the 2021 Russian Grand Prix. He will partner George Russell for the 2022 season. I'm quickly going to go and get something to drink, and then when I am back, we will go and talk about his helmet and his rivalries. So yeah, I'll be back in a bit. And we're back. So now we're going to talk about his helmet. From a young age, Hamilton's helmet throughout his karting years was predominantly yellow with blue, green and red ribbons. In later years, a white ring was added to the ribbons, and the ribbons were moved forward to make room for logos and advertisement space. Hamilton continued to run a predominantly yellow design in the early stage of his Formula One career, but in 2014 decided to change to a mostly white approach. In 2007, Hamilton selected his helmet design from fan submissions. The winning design used a white and yellow base color with red and orange details, and the addition of 3 stars for each of Hamilton's 3 Formula One championships at that time on either side. Over the following seasons, Hamilton continued to add more stars on his helmet on winning further championship titles. Hamilton has worn specially designed one-off helmets for several weekends throughout his career. At the 2010 Monaco Grand Prix, he sported an altered helmet design with the addition of a roulette wheel image on the top. Because if you know Monaco, there's a corner which is casino, and at casinos you have roulette tables. So yeah, it's nice touch. At the 2015 Malaysian Grand Prix, Hamilton brought with him a striking blue and green design in honor of team sponsor Petronas, but was prevented from using the helmet by the FIA. Hamilton has sported gold-colored helmets 3 times in his career. After winning his 4th title in 2017, he entered Abu Dhabi in a gold helmet with 4 stars adorning on the top of the helmet, with the words "World Champion." Hamilton wore a gold helmet at the 2018 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix after sailing his 5th world title. Towards he made reference with 5 stars on either side of the design. He also did it again at the 2019 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, this time with 6 stars following his 6th World Championship title. I mean, you get the reference. Hamilton also used one of helmet designs to pay tribute to influential figures in his career. At the 2011 Brazilian Grand Prix, he wore special helmets to tribute Ayrton Senna, which was auctioned after the race in aid of the Ayrton Senna Foundation. At the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, Hamilton, like fellow driver Sebastian Vettel, wore a special helmet to pay tribute to Niki Lauda, who passed away that weekend. The helmet was painted red and white, Lauda's classic colors, and had his name printed on the back. After the race, Hamilton reflected on Lauda's career, saying, "Ultimately, as a driver, my goal one day is to hopefully be as respected as he was." He's definitely someone who led by a great example, left a great example, and was a real hero to so many. Hamilton again wore a special helmet to pay tribute to Ayrton Senna at the 2019 Brazilian Grand Prix. And I believe now currently Hamilton has a purple helmet. I actually do like it. It's a really nice helmet, and it fits so well with like the black of the Mercedes. It's really cool. I really like his helmet design. But now we're going to go and talk now we're going to talk about his rivalries, and these there are 3 rivals, and they are his biggest rivals. Max Verstappen isn't in here because he hasn't had like a very long battle with Verstappen. Only like 2021 is the only time where Verstappen had a real shot at the championship title. I mean, he's leading currently at the point where I'm recording this, which is before the Mexican Grand Prix. So yeah, we're going to talk about Fernando Alonso, Nico Rosberg, and Vettel, which I do kind of still need to do a podcast about, I think. I don't know. Leave a like if you want me to do a Sebastian Vettel podcast. And yeah, let's hope that we get because not many people hit the like button on my videos. I'm gonna say we'll do 10 likes to get a Sebastian Vettel podcast, and also for Alonso and Rosberg. Just saying. But we're going to first of all talk about Alonso. Hamilton's debut saw him partner 2-time and defending world champion Fernando Alonso. In their time as teammates, tensions arose between the 2 drivers and McLaren as a result of several incidents. The first tensions surfaced after Hamilton finished second behind Alonso in Monaco in 2007. After post-race comments were made by Hamilton which suggested he had been forced into a sporting role, the FIA investigated whether McLaren had broken rules by enforcing team orders. McLaren denied favouring Alonso, and the FIA subsequently vindicated the team, stating that McLaren were able to pursue an ultimate team strategy because they had a substantial advantage over all other cars, nothing which could be described as interfering with the race results. Tensions surfaced again at the 2007 Hungarian Grand Prix, where during the final qualifying session Hamilton went out on track ahead of Alonso and ignored requests from the team to let him through. The two drivers had been taking turns on a race-by-race basis to lead during the qualifying, which gave the leading driver an edge due to the fuel load regulations then in place, and Alonso was due to lead in Hungary. Hamilton was then delayed in the pits by Alonso and thus unable to set a final lap before the end of the session. Alonso was relegated to 6th place on the starting grid, thus promoting Hamilton, who had qualified 2nd, to 1st, while McLaren was docked Constructors' Championship points. Hamilton said that he thought the penalty was quite light, if anything, and only regretted the loss of points. Hamilton was reported to have sworn at Dennis on the team radio following the incident. British motorsport journal Autosport claimed that this led Dennis to throw his headphones on the pit wall in disgust, a gesture that was misinterpreted by many to be a reaction to Alonso's pole. However, McLaren later issued a statement on behalf of Hamilton that denied the use of any profanity. As a result of the events in 2007, the relationship between Hamilton and Alonso reportedly collapsed, with the pair not speaking on terms for a short period. In the aftermath, it was reported that Hamilton had been targeted by Luca di Montezemolo regarding a Ferrari drive in 2008. The rivalry between the pair led to speculations that either Hamilton or Alonso would leave McLaren at the end of the season. Alonso and McLaren terminated their contract by mutual consent in November that year, ending his and Hamilton's time as teammates. In subsequent years, tensions between the pair dissipated, and the mutual respect has grown, with Alonso praising Hamilton in 2017, saying Hamilton was able to win with a dominant car, with a good car like 2010 or 2012, or with bad cars like 2009 and 2011. Not all champions can say that. Alonso later described Hamilton as one of the top 5 greatest drivers of all time. On the cooldown lap after Alonso's final race before his 2-year hiatus in 2008, Hamilton joined Sebastian Vettel in paying tribute to Alonso by driving each on one side in a formation to start-finish straight, where all three executed donuts. And that was a beautiful moment, just to see all of them do like donuts, like 3 champions doing donuts. That was beautiful. In that time together as teammates, Hamilton and Alonso won 8 out of 17 races in the 2007 Formula 1 season. Hamilton had 4 victories, 12 podium finishes, and qualified ahead of Alonso 10 times. Alonso also had 4 victories, 12 podiums, but qualified ahead of Hamilton only 7 times at the end of their season as teammates. At the end of the season as their teammates, the pair were tied on 109 points, with Hamilton placing 2nd and Alonso 3rd in the Drivers' Championship by virtue of Hamilton having more second place finishes. And now, if I take one more sip of my drink, we're going to talk about Nico Rosberg, about the rivalry between him and Rosberg. When Hamilton joined Mercedes in 2013, he was paired alongside old karting teammate and friend Nico Rosberg. Over their 4 seasons as teammates, a period of Mercedes dominance in Formula One, the pair's relationship became strained and at times led to volatile confrontations on and off the track. So yeah. Basically, I'm thinking that this podcast is going to be super long and people are not interested in like super long videos. So yeah. I'm going to leave it here basically around that. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly talk about Vettel. I will make a podcast about Nico Rosberg, don't you worry. So this will also come into place. Hamilton describes his rivalry with Sebastian Vettel as his favourite. Not anymore, because that's now with Verstappen. In 2001, Hamilton recalled, "Mine and Seb's battle were my favourites so far, as it's knowing I was racing against an incredible driver. Not only that, but a great man in Seb, who is a 4-time world champion, and we were racing against another team. He was at Ferrari, who were very strong at the time. It took a lot out of both of us in that period of time to remain focused, to deliver weekends in, to deliver weekend in, weekend out. It was a difficult period for us, and it brought us closer. But the respect we have between us is huge." So yeah. That is the podcast about Lewis Hamilton. I really hope that we can get this one past 90 views. So, yeah. I really think I can get this past 90 views. I have high hopes for this. Because, like, Lewis Hamilton, he's, like, really well known. And he has an incredible... he basically has like an army on social media for like to back him up, and yeah, they know everything about Hamilton. So yeah, Hamilton is basically like the biggest influencer that Formula One has ever known. So yeah, I have high hopes for this to get past the 90 views, maybe even past 100. Who knows? But that's going to be it for today's podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it and have learned lots about Lewis Hamilton, about the world champion. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching, or for listening, I should say. And leave a like while you're there. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!